You've got a T-shirt that says Melon Ink, right? Mm-hmm. Is that your own term that you coined?
Well, I don't know if I was the first one to say it, but I definitely would say it a lot because after such a long time now, tattooers of color are kind of getting much more of a voice. There's more of a community building, more knowledge and stuff. And the tattoo industry as a whole is more open to these conversations. While it still has its original kind of misogynistic biker roots, as more and more artists come into the industry, those old school style establishments kind of stay in their own communities. You know, they can't silence what's popping. You know, like, you grow where you go. I mean.
Elisheba Mrozik is a creator who expresses herself in more ways than I can even begin to describe. In other words, she is very Nashville. Elisheba uses paint, needles, ink, textiles, and even mud to tell stories, spread joy, and as you just heard, build community. She's an artist, organizer, entrepreneur, and mother of two. Her shop, One Drop Ink, houses a collection of spaces for tattooing, piercing, art, and just hanging out.
So this building was built in 1920 by Mr. Cossey Gardner Sr. And Cossey Gardner Sr., this was a funeral home, and he was very influential in North Nashville and really helped out the community during boycotts, having a bus service plus the funeral home. And so this building is still owned by his granddaughter, Miss Keisha Gardner. It lived other lives before we moved in, but we were lucky. We moved in here about 5 years ago. And this is Chicana. And Mary Stabs is her Instagram. And she stabs people legally. And they ask and pay for the privilege. And this is Kristen's booth. Kristen's right over there. People feel really comfortable with her. And she's also open to doing those big bachelorette parties, which a lot of people stay away from. But she's really good at handling the cowboy boots and the tiny, I love Tennessee's. Bachelorette parties, love her. They come all the time. It'd be groups of 9 or 10 of them arguing over what star to put on the boot. And then one of our tattooers, Leah, is up here. She is a tattooer that's also an environmental science major at TSU. So yes, tattooers are educated.
We're going to be working on just a simple cloud with some raindrops. It's supposed to be coming around a tattoo that he has already on his ankle. So we're just going to sort of box that whole area in with a little gap filler, what I like to call, So the tattoo that's there, I didn't do, but it appears to be a skeleton playing a acoustic guitar leaned up against a palm tree. Let me see. On a beach, on a beach. I thought it was a skateboard, but it's not a skateboard. It's on the beach.
He nailed it.
Is there a little story behind that at all?
There is. I grew up on Hawaii, so the palm tree, and I play guitar, and the skeleton's me, I guess. I don't know.
Figures and things like that. This is my son, Jake, though.
You want to say hi?
Hi.
You like coming to the shop?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I like it because I like the tattoos.
Do you have any tattoos yet?
No, because I'm a kid.
I'm Demetria Kalodimos. It's Banner and Company. Let's talk tattoos because, you are extremely well known in that realm. I was doing a little research. Lyle Tuttle, the famous rock star tattooist, said it was women's liberation that made tattoos popular. I mean, you can kind of date his statement just by the words he's using, but would you agree that led to wider popularity when women started seeking out tattoos?
Well, definitely. I can probably say that is definitely, I would probably say the 60s, just when it became okay for women to just be themselves more, it definitely changed where tattoos were going. And my Queen Mother, Jackie Gresham, was the first black tattooer in America. You know, she started in the 70s, and she worked with some of those greats, the Ed Hardys and the Lyles and things like that. And the industry was just the same way society was, as society became less misogynist.
Right.
You were able to, be able to express yourself in bigger, better ways. And tattooing was one of them. But women in the industry was still very low until pretty recently. Around the time that I started in 2010, maybe like 5 or 6 years, women really had started more and more coming in to the tattoo industry. And that has to do with a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah. Just as a layperson and observing other people's art, there seemed to be a moment or a period where things got so much better and more refined looking. Mm-hmm. Was that better equipment? Was that better artists? I mean, they went to a whole new level.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of it was a little bit of all of those things. So, and that's really what attracted me to tattooing, me seeing the art quality of tattoo. Because most people I knew had, some praying hands, baby daddy name, things like that, not, Michelangelo pieces on their skin. And that's really what drew me into tattooing, seeing these portraits that just look like Caravaggio's. And it was all of those things. One, more fine artists were taking interest in tattooing and bringing their skill sets from the fine arts into the tattoo realm. Investment in tattoo started to really pump up as popularity rose and the TV shows started coming out. So people invested in improving equipment better, faster. Bigger companies with more money started putting in funds and started giving sponsorships to artists to convince people to, buy things. And just the economic side of tattooing grew, as well as kinder apprenticeships started happening where people would actually get good apprenticeships and it wasn't just kind of biker street shop deals. And the healing technologies got better as we got these bandages now that stay on for a couple of days. You take it off and you're going to heal perfectly as long as you wash your hands and, clean it off. And it just grew from there, people challenging themselves to grow their techniques, and tattooing being seen more so as an art form has really just, there's some phenomenal artists that are just doing crazy awesome things. The one thing that I think has stymied innovation is everything to do with darker skin. So that is my biggest upset, in that there is still no products out there for darker skin. Like, I make my own products, but there are no products out there that are made for melanated skin. There are no inks. There are no one looking to do so. It's just kind of like, oh, you can't do that. The innovation isn't there. And I've been wanting to create inks for a long time, trying to find chemists that want to go in and think about unique ways to conquer this. I mean, you're telling me we can't figure out a safe way to change the narrative around ink under dark skin? And also the narrative around what looks good has to change. Because in art, okay, we love sepia tone things. Why is it that thought isn't put into the same area when it comes to tattooing on dark skin? I love the way that the colors heal with the sepia burnish tone. I've got colors here that are more turquoise looking because that blue took that orangey yellow of the brown in my skin and made it look kind of turquoise. Playing around with those things, there are some awesome black tattooers all over the country and world that are starting to experiment in different places and stuff like that and create more styles. And I really want to get together and really collaborate with some of these artists, because there's going to be some big things happening in that coming up.
Do you remember your first client or the 1st person you laid hands on in that way? What
My
was
very
it?
first, it was 4 music notes on a rib cage, which is a terrible place to do your first tattoo.
Sounds like that would hurt.
Yes, hurt them and me. It's an awkward place to get to, and then it's close to the bone, and people tend to like that, So, but I did all right, and I've been tattooing ever since. It's
That had to
13
be
years.
tons of pressure.
Oh, it takes a manic person to be a tattooer in a way, someone who can just, like a surgeon, like you got to sit and stare and be careful for the entire time. You have to do it every day, and you have to have some confidence that you're going to pull this off, even though you're human and you will make mistakes, but your clientele builds based on your confidence and knowledge to pull it off, your results, and people will let you practice on them.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because they want to see what's the next cool thing you can do, And I also love the tattooing industry as a community connection device, just to be able to talk and understand humans more, because I'm a therapist slick, just the conversations I've had with people over my 6 and 8 hour sessions and 12-hour tattoo sessions, alone in, their personal space. And you talk about all kind of stuff, and you think about memorial tattoos and talking with people through really tough times in their lives, and just understanding how all alike we are and how we just don't communicate with each other for fear of whatever,
Why are they seeking you out? Because of your specialization in melanated skin, or because of your design aesthetic, or everything, probably?
It really depends on the person. I've had people come to me and they don't even want one of my style. They want just like a little word or something. They're just like, I want you to do it. I like your vibe, whatever you stand for. Or people who are like, I like your artwork specifically. I like the way you tattoo. Everybody really has their own reason for coming to me.
Do you have like a Sistine Chapel project where someone's coming back for yet another addition to their...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got some back pieces out there I'm chipping away at. That is a classical oil painting one that I'm working on right now. You got a couple more sessions and then a touch up. We're almost there, buddy. And then I've got my friend Shauna. She's been coming to me for some years, and we're almost done covering her entire body. We're on her butt cheeks and I think her feet will be the last things, and then we'll just go in and fillers and touch-ups, but her whole body will be, except for her immediate face here.
I'm glad you brought up face. There's jelly rolls out there, even with joke, commercials saying, "What have I done?" Is there something you won't do?
Sure. I have said no to a few very dumb things, but also, just like if you're 18, dude, and you come to me and you have no tattoos and you're like, I want mofo on my forehead, I'm going to be like, no, bro, find somebody else, And if you're really serious about it, you'll go find somebody else. You know what I mean? I can't stop you, but I'm not going to do that to you, man. Like, it's just no. Why? Now, if you've already gone and tattooed your face before me, all right, maybe I'll do it then. You've already done the damage, So, but I will definitely say no to things like that. And I always try to give advice to people. Like, if they come to me with an idea, I tell them the truth. It's like, look, either like, I don't think this will look right. I'll give them an explanation why. I'll give them an explanation what I think they should do. And then, I'll also give them a suggestion of another artist that they maybe can try that maybe has a different perspective on it. Because it's just like, I want you to actually be happy with this tattoo. And I'm sure I've got some customers from the past who were not happy, and I always try to do my best to make sure you get the best job. And it's really a service industry. It is, I'm not just painting what I want on a thing, I have to think about you and your life and what's going on your skin, dude. And if you come to me and you're 18 and you're like, I want this giant wee-wee on my forearm. And I'm going to be like, bro, later on when you walk into your kid's school at 45 and you've got this thing on your arm, like you're going to not do this. And I'm not going to stop you from living your life, but I'm not going to be the one to ruin it for you.
And I would think, you do have to protect yourself. I'm sure there are legal papers that you sign because you don't want anyone coming back on you.
No, I mean, and that's just business. Whenever you're providing a personal care service, you always want to make sure you're protecting yourself and your clients. So, and since I have employees, I have to make sure that everybody is safe. We have to think about things in the personal care space where we're near people's bodies that are exposed in different ways. And so we always want to make sure that we are vigilant and just taking the proper steps to protect people with paperwork and following the laws of the state of Tennessee and the health department of Tennessee, protecting people from bloodborne pathogens and, just overall bad decisions. I like to think that my shop and how I tattoo and approach my tattoo clients is one of community rather than just economy and a transactional service. Like I really love the thought of the history of tattoos that were this community. Like you would go to that, village elder or shaman or whoever, and they would give you a piece. There would be a ceremony with it. It would be when I went to Greece, I got a traditional Maori tattoo from a traditional artist, and I had to talk to him about my life and the things I loved, and I had to wear a special robe, and they had mats on the ground, and it was a whole thing, and it was like I loved that experience, and I'm not a part of their culture. I respected and enjoyed having that experience, but that is a type of thing that can really bring people together in a more spiritual sense just within yourself. It's like, somebody put their energy into me, took time to hear my story and put that into me, and now I'm going to take that out on my journey through life.
When you said Maori, you made this gesture of poking. Mm-hmm. I mean, is it like...
Well, those are, they have a big needle on a stick, and then they tap it with the other stick to put it in. And it actually hurts less than...
Really?
Yeah, and I have it like down my neck here and into my skull, and it actually hurt less than a machine. Like the electric machine is definitely going hard.
One last question about ink. Mm-hmm. Would it be possible to do almost a negative effect where white or very pale ink would show on darker skin?
When I tell you melanocytes are the cells that create the melanin in everybody's skin, everybody has them. Darker skinned people produce more melanocyte. And once you put ink in, it's just in there once. But melanin is continuously created, and two things can't occupy the same space, and so they push between the particles of ink and make them less and less, and that's what causes fading over time. So no, because the melanin is undefeated.
It's Banner and Company. My guest is Elisheba Mrozik. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
As an artist, can you point to the very first real act of creativity in your life? What was it? What about it satisfied you?
That is a really good question. Well, ever since I was really small, in maybe like the 3rd or 4th grade, these Disney movies were coming out, and they all had artwork that everybody liked, and I could draw a little bit. And so, I would draw the characters, and the other kids would see them. And eventually, by the time I hit 5th grade, I would begin to sell little drawings of Lion King and things like that to other students for a couple, $1, some lunch money or a snack that I could trade. And, that really was satisfying. That's something that I, could do. People wanted and people enjoyed it. So I feel like that was probably my first moment of just being like, wow, I was able to create something and share it.
Were you signing these works and proud of it?
Yes. I luckily at the time in 5th grade, I did not know copyright law.
I'm assuming, though, that the crayon box didn't have all the colors you wanted or needed.
No, not at all. And I began kind of working on drawings of myself a little bit when I was very small. And then for a period, I stopped. Like, I really didn't draw myself at all. Like, I would draw everybody else, everything else, but not of me. And it's because, like, the times when I would draw people that looked like me or things like that, I wouldn't get the same kind of reception as I would when I would draw other things that people liked, And so for a long time, I would stay within the confines of what people would react to. And I really think that kind of time period stifled a lot of the creative ideas that I had thought about and kind of put to the side in favor of trying to do what got a big reaction from people.
What liberated that?
When I went to Japan in high school, so I was a big anime and gamer nerd. I've got Dance Dance Revolution tattooed on my arm right here. I saw that game for the first time in 2001 before it came out here when I went as a foreign exchange student to Japan. And there were scholarships I had to apply for. I was the only person in Tennessee to get one, and it gave me the ability to actually go on this trip and have this experience. After convincing my mom, who was not a fan of me leaving the country, especially one as foreign to her as anything, like complete opposite of, a Southern Black woman's culture and not knowing anything about it. But still, that experience really changed my life. It really changed how I thought about identity. And it really started having me look into who I was as a human, as a Black woman. It really began my mental spiral into trying to understand the specific type of hate in this world that Black people and Black women receive, and just try to figure out how to navigate myself, my dreams, my ambitions, my hopes, the art I want to create in spite of those things, and how can I exist as I want in that kind of space. And Japan really brought that to me. It influenced my work heavily. I really love beautiful coloration in Japanese work. I love the detail and the intent and meanings behind things. And as I learned more about kind of myself, it grew to also include my own lost ancestral knowledge that I've been trying to reclaim through my work.
Was it warm and welcoming over there, or did you feel...
It was. And at the time, being 16 and not knowing the intricacies of the scope of racism, like, you knew it was a thing. You experienced it in different ways. And my mom was very much an advocate of trying to tell me about history. So I was definitely not completely blind to what a lot of people seem to be blind to. And I have kind of been trained in a way to be able to see and understand and know that there's deeper reasonings and actions that have happened before that are showing me these effects of today on my life, right? And how certain people have fought to navigate around those things and how it's all built up to affect how I can live today and the things that I should do so that we can continue to move forward. But Japan was definitely my catalyst into, all right, I'm definitely like, I love to see their history. I love to see the history of a people, how they developed, good or bad things they did throughout history and time, and where that led them to today. Like, I love that. And I feel like as a Black American, like I am missing so much of that. And so much of my identity has been told to me by people who have oppressed me and my ancestors. And it's a long process of waking up.
You intentionally looked for a specific spot to plant your seeds here in Nashville. Was that a quick decision? Was it a long decision? I'm talking about North Nashville.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Actually, it came pretty naturally when I moved to the city. I didn't know anyone except my cousin who lived here. And, you know, she was busy working. She worked a real job, you know, and I had my daughter. She was 3 years old. And I just started working at a video game store here. And just through meeting people in the retail business, talking to people, finding out things that are going on, my daughter's daycare, talking to her teachers, they all lived here. Oh, you know, North Nashville is where the Black people are. It's the neighborhood that has this history and culture, and Fisk University's there, and they have this art department, and TSU's there, and, you know, maybe there are some people there who know the types of people you're looking for, you know, and the type of community you want to be in. And it led me there, and there I've made some lifelong friendships and partnerships with amazing people. The first shop I walked into on Jefferson Street was Thaxton Waters' old place, which was called Hebroots, and it was a bookstore. And he was a Hebrew Israelite, and he had books and art, and he made it a lounge type space for conversation, almost like a speakeasy. He would have events and stuff. And somebody told me to go there, and I walked in and I introduced myself, and I was just like, hey, I'm Elisheba. I moved here from Memphis not that long ago, and I'm an artist. And we instantly struck it up as we started talking about history. He was talking about the history of North Nashville. And so we was talking for so long, and I had to finish a project. And I was like, hey, can I go grab something out of my car? I'm trying to work on this canvas so I can put it in the show. I'm trying to get into the art community here. And he was like, sure. So I literally brought in the canvas out the car and just started working on a piece while we were talking about North Nashville and its history. And he was telling me about other artists and inviting me to things. And from there, it really snowballed into me meeting this amazing community of creatives of color and making connections. All of us were really amazing in so many different ways. And it was just so much love there and mutual respect between us. And that's what led us to later forming the Jefferson Street Art Crawl, which turned into our nonprofit today, the North Nashville Arts Coalition.
Right. Don't go away. It's Banner and Company.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
Is there a piece by an artist of color that is a must-see?
Yes.
If so, what is it? Where is it? And I'll tell you which one I like the best.
Yeah, okay. So, in the farmer's market on 8th Avenue here, Rosa Parks, if you're going out of the left entrance, what is this, the I would say the north side entrance, there is a 2-piece mural in the exitway called Adonai by R.J. Thompson. I want that wall. If they ever say that they are getting rid of, tearing down, painting over, I am coming to peel the drywall. That is my favorite painting. I love it so much. It is so beautifully illustrative. The color scheme is, and I love color. Like, that is one of the things that I love is color. So much. Color is everything.
Describe Adonai for me, because I confess I don't know the piece.
Okay, so it's 2 sides, and one side, if I remember correctly, they're planting these seeds, and like Mother Earth and stuff is surrounding these young people planting these seeds. And there's some Dinkra symbols, which are West African, Ghanaian symbols that mean different things. Think like hieroglyphs in that kind of frame. And these symbols are kind of scattered throughout, and there's these beautiful turquoises and peach tones and pink tones, and the trees and stuff begin to grow and change. And then the other side, they're reaping the seeds that they have sown,
Cool.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. So well done, so well executed. My favorite.
Okay, I'm going to go check it out.
Yes.
And quickly, I'll tell you the one I love is and I don't know the name of it and I don't know the artist, but there's a sculpture in front of John Henry Hale where there are other pieces.
Yeah.
But this is 2 big granite boulders nested in like steel rods.
Oh, right here on Charlotte.
It is the most striking sculpture in town.
That is a black artist. I went by there and looked at it up close because I kept driving by and I was like, what is this?
That needs a place of prominence in the middle of downtown.
I love that piece.
I'm glad that you brought up, at least in the context of that painting, tribal symbols, because I'm very interested in your discovery and your enlightenment about what we think is African cloth and textile, which really isn't.
No. And
Tell me about that.
So some years ago, I don't even know how long ago now. It's been some years, many years, since I found out like the true history behind what we call African fabric. It's worn in Africa. It's always on African models. It's worn in the middle of things. So, of course, it's African. The actual truth is, so there's a Dutch company, and it's called Velisco. And the uncle of the owner of Velisco had a plantation in Indonesia, and they saw batik being made. And they were like, oh, this is amazing. You need to make this, because Velisco was already a textile company. And so they went and perfected the automation of imitation batik and went back, sold it to Indonesia for undercut the handmade batik dyers. And then they fell out of favor in Indonesia for one reason or another. And so they needed another market to sell into. So they began to ship it into West Africa and sell it cheaply to the market women. And in order for them to sell it, they would make up stories about why the pattern was that way and things like that in order to get people to be like, oh, this pattern will bring you protection or a better marriage, things like that. And so they began to sell it, and it sold well. It was bright, it was colorful, and it was cheaper again than the handmade African fabrics that are actually African fabrics. Now it's synonymous with African culture. But it's funny because most people don't know that, and as someone who has lost, through no choice of their own, their connection to their culture and history, if I'm intentionally trying to support that, and put the things, clothe my body and adorn myself in the things that represent who I want to be seen as, the fact that I'm actually in the end paying my money right back to a company that in the 1840s may have purchased cotton from my ancestors. I don't even know. And now this stuff is considered African, as if it came from, the people.
You've used it in your work, obviously, to teach this lesson, or at least enlighten people to the truth. Do you also think it's pretty?
It is. I still wear it because I do still support my people and culture when I do so, because I only buy from vendors of color. No matter what I'm purchasing, I am only buying them from, and I try to only buy from local as well. Threads by Dreads is one that most of my stuff comes from her. Her family's from Ghana. So she sources the fabric from Ghana, has seamstresses there that design her stuff, and then ships it back here, sells it to us. So I'm helping multiple people, and I have a direct link. Like, I know that these are the people that I'm helping, right? And so, and I also buy and search for handmade African fabrics like kente and adire and aleko tie-dye, and some handmade batiks from Ghanaian artists. So I'm always really intentional about that. And when I am wearing it, you know, I just make sure I'm representing those companies.
And you've taken a spin at making your own textiles in a really unique way.
Yes, so
Straight from the earth.
Straight from the earth. I have always seen mud cloth and wondered like about it, but there wasn't a ton of info on it. And once I really started learning more about African fabrics and researching, I found out that they really were making things from mud. It wasn't just mud to wear in the mud, but it was made from mud. And I started trying to research the process, and again, playing with these themes of identity and trying to figure out who I am and what my culture looks like as a Black American woman. And not always, you know, kind of searching or listening to what other people are telling me, wanting to define those terms for myself. And so I was like, well, what if I just make some mud cloth? Like, I take an ancestral recipe and I modify it and bring it in. So putting in my own culture and use that to then make a new piece of culture that can be passed on. And what does it look like to create culture? You know, if we're doing so from scratch, and if I'm trying to do it intentionally without always having to refer back to the trauma that comes with a lot of our culture.
Right.
That we have right now, you know? And so hood cloth was born, and I wanted to use products directly from Africa. I wanted to try to make each step of the process only touch Black hands. The only place I couldn't make it happen was the shipping. You know, trying to get the cola nuts from Africa that make the reddish brown color in the mud cloth. And then I went and dug up mud from the alleyways of North Nashville, and I had to sort out glass and debris and ferment the mud. And let me tell you, if you Google how to ferment mud, you will find nothing. That is a thing Google does not know. And so after months trying to figure out, what does it mean to ferment mud? Like, do I just leave it? Do I add something? Like, where do I have to store it and stuff? I finally found one, because there was like some videos about making bogolan, which is mud cloth in Malian, but there weren't instructional videos. It was just like, this is how they make mud cloth. They smash mud. They ferment the mud, but they don't explain how to ferment, you know.
Right.
So I finally found something that gave me a hint of the process and figured it out. So I fermented the mud, and then I began to dye the fabrics, which I also imported from Mali. And the biggest thing that I really enjoyed about it was that once I got all the ingredients and I figured I could do it, I wanted to try to do it in an all handmade way as well. Because if I really wanted the process to be, you know, as intentional as possible, I didn't want to use machines made by whoever. And so I went and found a primitive mortar and pestle and began to crush the nuts by hand, which takes a lot of time, but, you know, it also gives you a lot of stopping time and thinking time. I mean, how often are we in today's age ever just doing this repetitive motion and thinking about something, and not watching something or swiping or clicking or 50 things at once. And so it really gave me some pause time. And I'm just like, this was ancestral life. Like, this was how people had to do their everyday. And so that process just really made it all the more important to me that I can see for myself and experiment with creating a piece of culture that is pure.
Banner & Company is a production of the New Nashville Banner. Our producers are Steve Haruch and Andrea Tudhope. Original music by Verlin Thompson. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or go to NashvilleBanner.com. You're in good company.